is that when we stop drinking, we then realize we've been living with some untreated other issues, diseases, disabilities, whatever they may be, ADD, bipolar, obsessive compulsive, depression, anxiety, suicidal, Alfred may share about his Parkinson's, so I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit tonight, is that, a lot of times people, once we stop drinking, we're like, oh, there's so much more going on. Are you guys comfortable to talk about that a little bit, if I get it correct? Yeah. And I have a dog, so I'm going to step away to give him something to keep him busy for a minute.
I should have muted before I did that.
You're fine. I didn't hear anything.
Thank you for being on tonight. Are you doing anything through the theater, or are you just met John and
me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no. I was trying to get sober. Well, I've tried to get sober 2 years in a row, and I was just looking for, sober people in the Norfolk area, and I think I just found him in the Facebook group, and
oh yeah,
here we are.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm pretty confident. If I see someone post about sobriety, I'm not embarrassed to friend them or message them.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
So
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was trying to find community outside of AA. Not that AA is bad, but I just wanted. I don't know.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are many ways to recovery.
Yes, exactly.
Could you check the email that we have, Alfred?
I did. There's nobody, no
okay.
mail.
That's okay. At least we have it out there.
Yeah.
Um,
If I'm moving, I'm Parkinson's acting up a bit, so I'm moving erratically. Just ignore it. I started exercising again this week, and my friend Arlen, she's my trainer, and she put me through my paces today. We didn't do much, but we did something. So
That's awesome.
I'm sore too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I came to the realization that I got one of those smart scales, and it puts all your BMI and all your this, that, and the other thing. And I saw the printout of that, and I was like, my eyes got big. I sent it to a couple friends, and my friend is a nurse. He's like,
That's awesome.
You gotta stop. I order you to stop. You gotta lose the weight. Came to the realization.
Yeah. I'm on like day 9 of walking, and I've noticed a difference, like just more energy. And so if, like, for me, it has to be mentally, like I have to like make an effort, and like the first couple days are the toughest.
Yeah. Definitely.
Alrighty, we got 1 minute. 1 minute until showtime.
You need to have it sound like we're gonna need to do like a NASA mission control checklist countdown. Launch, go. Rocket engine 4, go. Life support systems, go. Main computer, go.
I have that, Alfred. I really do.
Yeah. Well, Matt's gonna hate me tonight because I wrote out like a page and a half of like a John Wharton intro.
I forgot the second step was write out and then send it to me for edits. But
I was gonna send it to you, but I know how you like to be surprised.
Oh boy! All right,
it's pretty short for John.
I know. I'm more of a stream of conscious, spontaneous, but I figured I'd just write a couple things down. Also, what if Christina's judging us?
Alright, 10 seconds. Here we go.
At least I don't feel like people are judging me anymore.
I do. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm away from that.
I judged your head.
Coming to you all the way from Norfolk, Virginia, Go On Productions, Earprov.com, and Sober Norfolk presents
Saturdays!
Sober Saturdays with your host, John Regan Wharton.
Good evening, 8 p.m. in Norfolk, Virginia. My name is John Regan Wharton, and I am the host of Sober Saturdays. This is our 5th live stream out there on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and produced by my friend Matt Cole on Earprov.com. Hosted with my 2 best friends, Alfred and Tipper. I've known Alfred for about 15 years. He actually answered the phone when I called the AA hotline 15 years ago. We connected and then reconnected at the Push Comedy Theater. Alfred has a podcast called Performance Enhancing Films. He's a fan of Star Trek, Star Wars, and has so many cats it's illegal. Oh, gosh. My second host is of 3 years sober from alcohol, a former teacher, current artist, and a hilarious ball of eternal, kind, creative energy. Tipper.
Hey, that was so nice. Thank you.
Force is with us.
I love Tiffany. I was like joking around with her. Immediately, I felt like I could just warm is the adjective I will use for Tiffany. Warm. And I can be myself around her. We've known each other for years, and again, reconnected at the Push Comedy Theater. So we do talk about sobriety and alcoholism. Tiffany did not get sober through the 12-step. There's many different paths to recovery. She's alcohol-free, has an amazing story and journey. Really one of my best female friends. And she met her husband in a local production, Constellations, at the Generic Theater last year, which was awesome. I think I was front row the last show.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So that was awesome. Tonight is
our
our
show before the pandemic.
Yeah. Alfred, you were there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. And tonight we have a special guest. I hope I haven't made her wait too long. Christina from Chesapeake. Welcome, Christina. Originally from Ohio, Christina's also lived in Norfolk. She just celebrated 1 year of sobriety, alcohol-free, February 3rd.
Thank you.
And she is no stranger to Facebook live streams, podcasts, alcohol, being silly. She was telling me she had a podcast. It's still active, I believe. What was it called?
Yeah, Your Neighbor's Hood. It's on Facebook or Instagram.
Okay. And that was started in Ohio?
No, it started here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's still local. They Jackie Glass and Hannah Sobel are the co-hosts, and they both live in Norfolk, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for being here tonight. We're gonna take the next hour. We do have a call-in number, 917-426-6794. That's 917-426-6794. You can call in and ask all four of us really anything about how we lived alcohol free. We especially like to talk about that first 30 days. But I think tonight what I wanted you guys to think about a little bit is once we stopped drinking alcohol, we then realized that we were dealing with ourselves on life's terms, but we realized there was other issues, disabilities, maybe ADD, bipolar, depression. Does anyone feel led who wants to really talk about that first?
Yeah, I can jump in.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So I was very similar to what you're talking about. I kind of had a little bit of a different experience. I had the mental health before the drinking, but I was on medicine for bipolar and generalized anxiety, and it just wasn't working. And I always laugh now that I'm sober. I'm like, yeah, you're dousing it with gasoline. You know what I mean? Your medicine's not going to work, right? So I kept going to the psychiatrist, and she kept upping my medicine, and no one was asking, are you drinking, or what's going on, And in hindsight, I would lie on those forms, how many drinks are you having? 2. Yeah. Right. So well, 10, I mean, who knows? But anyway, so when I got sober, my life just completely got better. I mean, of course the anxiety is still there, the bipolar is still there, but now I can handle it. And also, I'm a runner, and I've always had a lot of self-care, things I would practice even while drinking, but they don't work. You know what I mean? And running, I never really ran that much when I was drinking, because you're either drunk or hungover. So you don't have time to work out, you know what I mean? So when I got sober, I also had to learn to look at my anxiety and really deal with it, because that's what my go-to was. Just go to the bar, and just kind of black out pretty much. I mean, and so now it's been therapy. I did outpatient, and kind of having to sit with myself and be like, oh boy, let's deal with everything we've been putting under the radar. So.
Yeah. Wait, tell me what you mean about throwing gasoline on it. I've heard that before. I can relate to that.
Yeah, I think it's just literal alcohol, you know what I mean? Just it's so I'm sure you're aware of this, but it's for me, my anxiety would get way worse when I would drink. I think I heard it was you let that high for that first drink lasts 20 minutes, right? So you're feeling good for 20 minutes. And then after that, you're declining and you're getting more depressed, right? So for me, I would have horrible anxiety. And then, I would have depression the next day. So it would last 2 or 3 days for me. So I just felt I was putting, fuel to a already going fire, which is my mental health, my anxiety.
Yeah. Definitely removing alcohol for me. But the longer I go, the more I learn about myself.
Yeah.
But definitely it worked for a while, then it stopped working. Right. Can you relate to that, Tipper?
Yeah, because for me, I was drinking because I hated my life, because I was going nowhere. And also I was dealing with depression, not realizing, again, adding fuel to the fire, I was just making my depression even worse, and anxiety even worse the next day with the withdrawal, and having to just start the cycle all over again. And so I was able to start learning my body and how, and its actual anxious symptoms and physiological responses, as opposed to the alcohol being the thing that's causing all of this. And it's and like you said, I'm still learning now. I mean, I'm kind of right now, as far as my mental health journey goes, starting to think that some of the things that I personally go through might actually not just be anxiety. Perhaps that anxiety is actually a symptom of something else. But I would never be able to even consider researching any of this or searching anything else if I were still drinking, because the drinking cycle just perpetuates more drinking, and drinking becomes the problem and the solution at all times. And there's no room for anything else. Like you said, you can't exercise, you can't do anything because you're either hungover or you're too wasted to remember or function. So it's
Yeah, I'll add that in really quick. That reminded me, like half the time I would forget to take my medicine because I was drunk. You know what I mean? So I'd fall asleep or like, or I'd be like, oh, I'm too drunk to take the meds, like whatever. So, I mean, I laugh now because it's like in recovery, I feel like you can do that hopefully and look, past and see how ridiculous it is. But it's like, yeah, of course my medicine wasn't working.
I was embarrassed about having anxiety. So funny. And I was embarrassed to tell people I took medicine. So I was stop, start. So not consistent when I was drinking. And it really took, and then I took no medication for a couple years after I drank, but I was just high strung. Like people think I'm busy now. Like I was just kept myself busy from sun up to sundown, never slept really. But now I take my medication as prescribed. But I used to be embarrassed to tell people about taking medicine. Did you ever feel embarrassed about telling people, Alfred?
Yes, because it's not something you talk about. I mean, hi, my name's Alfred, and I'm on antidepressants. It's like,
Right.
Yeah. Plus, I have 6 cats.
Yeah.
I don't know, the cats I'd be proud of.
Yeah, and then they just walk away, don't they? Then they just walk away, don't they?
Yeah, they're like, okay.
Yeah.
There's a funny one that shows like a cat skateboarding in the sunset. It says, "See you later, dickhead." They're just funny creatures.
But you've learned so much about yourself. So, I mean, I knew Alfred when he first stopped drinking and he was smoking cigarettes, Yeah, but but you don't do that anymore.
No, it's been 8 years since I quit smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. But go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But are you comfortable talking about other medications?
Oh yeah. I'll talk we're talking about anxiety and obsessive compulsive. I had 2 really bad bouts of it in recovery. I'll go over one of them. It was and I think it's each time it was when my brain chemistry was changing and then dealing with that. And the part of that was like in 2007 I couldn't start my lawnmower. I've been sober for 4 years at this point. And then it just I went to the doctor and then around the same time I started getting this real high anxiety and then I started getting this my obsessive compulsive behavior came out in like 2 or 3 ways. One was hand washing. And I would wash my hands so much they bled. And then I'd be afraid that my blood was going to contaminate somebody. So I wouldn't go through doors. I'd wait for somebody to hold the door. And I got a job, I'm trying to act this way. I'm trying to hide it at the job and not act crazy. And it just was like I would wait at the door until somebody opened it. It was almost like the best way I can describe is Leonardo DiCaprio in the Aviator. It really covers the obsessive compulsive stuff in there. But one of the strangest ones, I didn't like holding hands in meetings. I would wear gloves. It's like Dr. No, some James Bond villain walking around with gloves because he didn't want to. And the second one was I drove around and if I hit a bump, I said, did I hit somebody? Then I go back and check.
I remember you telling me this, Alfred. I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to hear this story again. This is powerful.
And I would spend sometimes a couple hours driving in circles, making sure I didn't hit anything or anyone, and people be in the car with me and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'd be like, I'd have to have somebody tell me like 3 or 400 times I didn't hit anything. And then it'd be on my own driving, hit a bump, and then I go home and call my parents. Did I hit something? They weren't in the car with me. I was just trying to get some relief. But that went on for years. I didn't think that was going to end. And then I got a book in the library. I started looking it up, and I found that was it was an obsessive compulsive behavior. I found it in a book, so I didn't feel so bad. And I heard they made a movie about it called Bump. I haven't looked it up, but it was just. But finally, I had to just stop entertaining it. I got therapy, and I had to just start telling myself, biggest thing with obsessive compulsive behavior is not entertaining it. I mean, it's like this thing, you fall into this tunnel and then the hooks come out, and then I'm going to latch on to anything. And it's like the drink. The first time you entertain it, it's going to go it's not going to go away.
Similar to addiction. It's because I not to interrupt your story.
No.
As a child, I had like those similar symptoms of OCD but mine was I was scared people were gonna slip and die for some reason. I chose slip, and I would pick up all the fries on the floor in the cafeteria because I was so scared that someone would slip and it would be my fault. And
I did the same thing. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And you thought it'd be your fault.
You and I are the same person. Like, you're the same person.
I might be in the parking lot, see a can or a little box, and then someone's going to slip on that, and I'm going to be responsible. Holy shit. I didn't think. You're like the second person, probably the first person I've talked to that had that too.
Yeah. And I think, and I remember, making my mom, like it upset my mom to see me with these symptoms. And I don't know how. I was 10, 11 or whatever, but I just quit all of it. I just stopped doing it all. But I think what I actually did, and this is part of what I'm kind of learning about myself now, is I think I just sort of switched my obsessions and compulsions from being obsessed with people dying to something else. To I'm still figuring it all out. But
to memorizing lines for a play,
or whatever it is, So, but drinking wasn't going to help me with any of that. So
no, I wow, those stories you share are powerful, Alfred. So I think about some things. I can catch myself now, but when I was younger, I didn't know, and I used to play these games in my head where like I'd have to like see certain numbers or things would have to add up, and I would play these games in my head. And then so when you're talking about waiting before you go through a door, like I play these games in my head, like before I get out of the car, or maybe like, especially something with like a woman, like the opposite sex, like a date or a dance. Like I play these games in my head to like make things all right. And, like seeing a person or a color, a lot of things with numbers or word association. And then, and I remember, I would just do weird things too. And sometimes I played basketball a lot. So I'd maybe run outside to my driveway, or I had a Nerf hoop in my bedroom, and I'd do something like, okay, I can't leave unless I make 7 in a row, and it had nothing to do with what the next thing I had to do was, but I would like put these weird pressures on myself. I would seem to be preoccupied a lot. And then when I got into like drinking, experimenting with other things, I would play those games too with alcohol, and I would drink very fast. So I was a fast drinker, and I was very spontaneous, but I would drink very fast.
I'll jump in really quick. So when I was drinking, I thought I had OCD, like diagnosable, but mine turned out to be the drinking. But I would unfortunately obsess, like I'm sure a lot of us do, but it was to the point where I couldn't work or get through a work day of like, what did I say? What did I do? Like I had an obsession of like, this is strange, but I guess I'm in good company. But I remember thinking like, did I hurt my cat? Like I remember like holding him, and like squeezing him, like who knows, like I love my cats. I have 2. And I just like remember for like a week, I journal about it. Actually, I've been an avid journaler, and I looked back on it, and like, I just remember thinking that I like strangled him. And it's like, this is so crazy. Like I could cry. Like this feels so good. I've never really told anyone that before, but it was like a week, and my cat's fine. Like he's ready. You know what I mean? Like running around, like it's fine. But like I don't have a memory of it, but I had a fear of it. Right. And I remember the other one would be like when I was drinking, like I share this stuff openly. Hopefully this is no judgment zone. But I was just a bar fly. So I would hang out at the bars and like I would meet guys, right? Like I wouldn't go home with them, but I'd get in their car, we'd go to the next place. And so I had this obsessive thought of like, what did I do? Did I hook up with them? Like, did I do something? Which could be like valid because you're blacked out sometimes, right? So I mean, it was awful. It was, oh my God, it was awful. And there were days like I couldn't sleep. I mean, like I went to therapy for it and, and she didn't know I was drinking. So yeah, they diagnosed me with OCD, but I got blessed in the sense of like when I stopped drinking, those thoughts went away. But I mean, oh my God, it was awful. Oh, it was awful.
It's so wild how similar, the OCD and even what I was using it for with depression and just drinking in general, how similar they're all about control or trying to find a sense of control.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's interesting.
Even if it's some sort, even if it's and trying to understand control in a way that we feel like we can attain it.
Yeah.
Like if only 7 baskets, I will have achieved a thing that is going to give me this.
That is what I was trying.
If I have 3 drinks, I'll reach that level of like, I got this, or whatever it is. Like,
isn't
it wild how related it all is?
I would wow, that makes me think. I used to get into then reading about stuff about like touching stuff, like wow, I never really shared this, Alfred. I don't know if I would. So things like, how you said you would wait at the door, or did you hit a body, you'd stop and not drive? I was more into like, like make 7 baskets, or maybe I have to go like run back inside and like touch something special in my bedroom, then like come back down, then get in the car, and it's going to make everything okay.
A ritual.
Isn't that weird? And then after I found like, like pot or alcohol, that worked. But like, I was like, oh, I got to run back upstairs and like touch the head of my teddy bear. I'm like 14, like I'd get these weird things like that.
I had a friend of mine, he would, luckily he would put up with it, but I would call him in the morning. He several days he would talk me from getting dressed to getting out of the house and backing out of the driveway and getting started, because I could not move. I would be paralyzed.
Wow. And that's when you were getting sober?
No, this is 3 or 4 years in. So this came, and I think this is part when my brain was changing, when the Parkinson's started. Yeah, I think that had something to do with it. But still, I had like obsessive compulsive behaviors in college and stuff. Yeah, but when they really went off the chain, when and it took 4 years to get diagnosed with Parkinson's, which was another story in itself.
I wonder if you all can relate to this. I don't feel this anymore, but I used to think I was crazy. Like I used to sit around and think about that, but I don't think about that anymore. And I can relate to people who think about that. But I used to think like, and I take, but there was a time I used to think like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be going crazy at some point in my life. Did you guys ever have those thoughts before?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but you able to like talk yourself out of it now? Like,
I mean, think about how many times you didn't remember something correctly. You doubt your own existence, sort of, just because you're kind of not present for a lot of it too. I mean, just because that's like the nicest thing I've ever heard. Our friend Candace, in relation to what we were talking about, first off said, her drunk OCD was finishing her drink at the same time as someone else.
Wow. That's interesting.
None of our stories are exactly the same, but they all have something that kind of relates to each other. But another thing she said, and not to discredit AA, because I know it works for some people, but I appreciated her saying this, because I'm also, I went a route that wasn't AA, but she said, I'm very tired, so forgive my stream of consciousness, which is silly because she's the best writer ever.
She's awesome.
The show is great. It's the opposite of everything I didn't like about AA. I'm so on board with a show geared towards gratitude for sobriety versus what I think tends to happen within AA, which is a lot of lamenting or ruminating on old times or bad times. This is about real, multifaceted, and dynamic people with real stuff to deal with, being able to champion each other. Love it. Love you, Candace. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, thank you, Candace. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, wow. I like what we're talking about tonight. This is just taking just a neat turn, because it really isn't all about the alcohol. It's like once we remove that, And Christina, you said something else that's so funny. I've been thought about. I too would also always lie on that stuff. Like, how many drinks did? And I'm like, can I really tell someone I drink 10 drinks?
Oh,
Right. I
no
mean,
form. There's no form in the world that knows exactly how much I drank.
Yeah, I would always. And then I do remember, I might have talked a little bit about it on here before. I've talked about it before, but I do remember, oh, this is great. Who cares? We're live stream. 2 people are watching, 4 people are watching. Who knows? So I remember like being in college, and I was a little bit older when I went back to school. I was like in the Army for a couple of years, then community college. And then, so like I'm finally like settling in. I'm like 22 or 23. And like, I have like my book bag on, and I have like a breakdown and on the campus of Penn State. And I like find, I think it was, is it called the infirmary? Is that what they call the hospital? I don't know what it was called.
Yeah.
Infirmary or something. And I like find this place, and I'm like, hey, I need to talk to someone. They're like, oh, let me see your insurance. And I'm like, no, I need to talk to someone right now. And they're like, well, we can sign you up for Tuesday. I'm like, no. Like it's taken everything in my whole power. I need to talk to someone like right now. So like they brought me in a back room, and I remember I had like, I didn't go anywhere for like 2 years, like without pots. I never had like some pot on me. And like, I remember her like talking to me, and I'm like telling her all these things about how I'm just rambling. And I remember she's like, I'd like to talk to you about your drinking. And I was like, no. I was like,
that's not the problem.
Yeah. I was like, well, I'll be drinking probably in about 2 or 3 hours when I get out of here. But the reason I'm here is, and then I remember they did give me Paxil. Has anyone ever used that before? It's like a antidepressant or anxiety. But I did not take it correctly. And I followed up with that woman a couple times, but I was still abusing things. But that was a little bit of an insight for me, because I got into listening to some meditation and anxiety tapes and CDs. I definitely dated myself with the tapes. And that was helpful because I didn't feel alone, and also opened up some dialogue with my parents, where I called them on the phone. I was like, hey, it's me, John. I have anxiety. They're like, no shit. Like they're like, we raised you, like, but like my parents are cool. I talked to them this morning. We're very close. But that opened up 2 things for me. One, kind of like talking with my parents more. And then also, I'll never forget when that doctor was like, hey, I'd like to talk to you about your drinking. And that, like, I was very defensive. I was like, how'd you figure that out?
Yeah.
What did you say, Tiffany? No form in America has the right
correct amount that I was drinking at the time on it. Yeah.
Have you lied on every form?
It's cool now, forms. I mean, I'm like, no, I can say no, I don't smoke anymore. Like,
I can't believe it. I don't do anything.
Like, it's like so great to be like, I really don't. I swear. Like,
yeah. I'm just a dork. I'm just a dork named Tipper that's on TikTok and eats chili.
Speaking of Paxil, there was this about 10 years ago. There was somebody made a song from Justin Timberlake's "Sexy Back." It was like, I want my Paxil back.
Oh, really? Well, how
It's on YouTube.
It's so funny.
Gonna get my Paxil back.
Yeah.
I think the neat thing about sobriety too, when it comes to mental health, is it seems as when you're in the amidst of drinking, it seems like mental health is not an attainable goal. Without alcohol, you feel not in control. And the more you learn yourself during your sober journey, the more you kind of innately just have this strength that you didn't know you had to deal with some things that you never thought you could deal with. I mean, I'm not perfect, but I catch myself every once in a while. I'm like, wow, I did that. I got through that, and I'm fine. And wow, I never would have thought I'd be able to do that. And it's cool to look in retrospect at my life in my sobriety and see like what I've been able to accomplish.
Did you hike Mount Fuji?
I did hike.
Christina, she hiked Mount Fuji by herself.
Really cool.
Yeah. I watched the whole thing like on Instagram for like 3 days. Yeah. I mean, but you just travel.
Don't exercise. I'm a fit person. I mean, it is the last thing on my things.
Right.
That I want to become as a person that works out, but I'm not.
Yeah.
But there's the fact that you like organized, planned, traveled by yourself to a brand new country and did everything on that list and came back happy, didn't drink, you know what I mean? Like, that's huge.
Yeah.
You know.
Speaking of huge, we've got a huge phone number.
Oh.
People can call.
Yes, they.
Roll that big phone number, John.
Oh, that phone number is 917-426-6794. 917-426-6794. I might drop it in our Facebook group.
Yeah.
We usually have a guy that calls in every time, Christina. I hope Gary, he called in. The first time he called in, he was like getting out of the emergency room or something. You know, this is like fine. And then, but he's still sober. We hear from him. But we first heard from him. He had like, 96 hours or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow. So cool.
I wonder if he's out there.
Speaking of obsessions, like one of my tamer obsessions was Star Wars figures and Star Wars collectibles, and those I would spend my lunch break going to Kmart and Hampton and Walmart and Toys R Us and hobby stores looking for, if I get this figure, everything will be complete. And then it was never enough, it's always, you get a victory. Yes, I found it. And then it's like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Never complete. That's interesting.
Yeah.
There's going to be more.
Are you comfortable talking a little bit about the mental health group that you started, Christina?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I primarily share my story on like Instagram and in a blog, but I was like connecting with a lot of creatives that were sharing their stories on mental health or sobriety. And so I just created a Facebook group where we can just like all share like our work, right? Like artists or again, Instagram or a podcast. Cause I found I was like, I love meeting sober people, but then I saw like a lot of us, like you guys can relate, are creative. And once we sober up, we get like at least I did all these ideas and stuff. And so, yeah, it's just, you guys can just kind of, you can search it or just send me a friend request and I can add you if you share. And all you have to do is just share about mental health or sobriety, in any capacity online. That's it. So it's just mental health, social media support. That's it. And mental health and sober social media. So yeah, I mean, it's cool. And we can just all post like this, like anything that anyone's got going on. I just love seeing it and supporting it. So
I appreciate it. I agree with you. And I think we could use more of it. I mean, through the group that myself and a couple others started, I noticed it's like people come and go. And when they need it, they need it bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they're like ready to talk about it right then and there, maybe for like 2 days, they share their story and then they kind of get on, and people sometimes come back around. They're like, oh, I'm on my phone all the time. That was perfect for me. I just needed a place to like be myself and ask questions,
100%. And I think we talked about this pre-show, but I'm the same. I get messages from people that want to get sober and don't necessarily sometimes want to use AA or don't know an alternate route. And so, I mean, I found that Instagram has been just a really cool place to connect with people. People are looking to get sober right now. So,
yeah. And I do enjoy, I even used to hide my sobriety a little bit for a couple years. Did you hide yours for a couple weeks or a couple months, maybe thinking you were going to fail or just not ready to talk about it?
I love that question. I came out at a month sober. So, I've always worked as a speaker just locally and mental health advocate. So I've shared my story openly with mental health, but I was drinking the whole time and like hiding it, as we do, I think, with addiction. And so at a month sober, I just came out and was like, hey, y'all, like I'm an alcoholic. And people were so blown away. They were shocked. You know what I mean? Like, what? Because I did my drinking and hiding and in secret, like I'm sure that's pretty common. So I shared it a month and it worked for me. I think a lot of it was I wanted to find other people. Like AA was so cool, but it was also like I saw 10 years, 20 years sobriety and I'm like, yo, I'm trying to make it through a day. Like I need somebody, like I was trying to create my own community because I just couldn't find it. And then I got sober during COVID. So I was an outpatient and my outpatient shut down the week. I got lucky the week that I ended my outpatient, but like couldn't find the rooms, couldn't find anything because of COVID. So I was looking for people that had a similar experience.
Yeah. Alfred, you were telling me a story about, because you've been around a while, like in rooms, and Alfred does Zoom meetings in different countries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so cool.
But then you told me this, what I wanted to go with this is you told me there's a whole like generation that has only gotten sober on the internet.
Yes.
Is that something that you read or just know about?
I've known about it.
Yeah.
I've watched it happen. I've been going to Zoom meetings for about coming up on a year. And people at the beginning were saying, no, nobody's going to be able to get sober. They won't get it. They won't be able to find it. And there's people at 40 days, 10 days, and 1 day. And I'm just amazed. They're still coming in, and people are coming in and picking up a year now. And
so people just are supporting them online daily. Yeah. That is really cool. Yeah. Do you know Abby Marie Weaver, Christina?
I do. We're really good friends. Hey, girl.
She just jumped in the comments and was like, Christina.
Yeah, we just got brunch. We've been friends for a while.
Oh yeah. Well, if she's allowed to, it would embarrass you if she called in. We can
No, God, no.
Abby, if you're out there, call in 917-426-6794. Yeah, we all know Abby.
And for your birthday, we won't charge your call.
Yeah, I think she just had a birthday, didn't she?
She did, like 2. Yeah, sorry, Abby, I forgot to say happy birthday. Happy belated.
Yeah. Some of us are also like I live in the Ocean View area. And so some of us last summer, she was part of this group. And we've even gone probably twice since COVID and just socially distanced, sat outside on the beach.
Oh, I love that.
So I'll have to add you to that group.
Yeah, please do.
There's some of us that we just go do that. So
yeah, love it.
Yeah, just for something to do. Did you hide it at all? Go ahead, Tiffany.
Well, so my go-to when I'm not doing so hot is to isolate myself. So at that point in my drinking, I didn't talk to anybody. Yeah. Nobody knew how much I was drinking, and nobody saw me anyway. So nobody knew anything because I didn't talk to anybody. Oh, yay.
Hear the bells.
Oh, we have a call. Caller, thank you for calling in. This is Sober Saturdays.
This is Abby Weaver.
Abby,
welcome.
Love you.
Happy birthday.
Hey guys, this was so exciting. I didn't realize this was happening tonight, and I popped it up and saw my wonderful friend Christina. So I was so excited to pop in here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I only met Christina on the internet.
Yeah.
Maybe we've been talking for, I don't know, say maybe almost a year, longer than 6 or 8, 9 months. But today's the first day we've met on Zoom just to kind of talk mental health and sobriety. But that's cool that you know her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met Christina a few years ago on my Women of the Seven Cities podcast.
Yes.
And so I think we've been online friends, and then more recently having brunches, and she's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh,
No,
right back at ya.
that is so cool. Well, I know I've had really good conversations with you, Abby, about all sorts of things, but so we've been talking about like obsessive compulsive disorder. We've been talking about anxiety. I mean, you can stay on if you wanted to ask us something or share anything, or if you just want to say hello, but we've been sharing all sorts of stuff.
That's awesome. I actually like that you're doing Sober Saturdays. I think that's a really neat thing to do. And I don't know if anybody knows, but I recently went sober since New Year's. I have not had a drink. And that's a big deal for me, considering I was drinking like every day during COVID.
Yeah.
That is big. So what? So we're into March. Is that 60 days?
Yeah, just about.
Okay.
Hey, good for you.
Congrats. And that's my dog barking and saying congrats as well. That's awesome, Abby. That's awesome. Yeah, especially if you drank every day during COVID. That's awesome. Are you noticing some changes?
I have noticed a lot of it changes. I think the more recent one is that I have a lot more anxiety than I did when I was drinking, which I found interesting because drinking makes me very emotional. So, as you all know, my birthday was this week, and a few of the Sturgis people were going to meet us at the roller rink to skate for my birthday. But I ended up having a horrible panic attack on my way there, and I just couldn't pull it together. And then that panic attack made me sick, and I ended up leaving my own birthday party like 10 minutes in.
I didn't know.
Awful.
So you're not alone, because Alfred was just sharing some things about obsessive compulsive disorder and anxiety. And I like what the word Alfred said. He said he believes his brain chemistry and all of our brain chemistry changes after we stop drinking, and that we start to feel some things more deeply, and that we're just going. It's not going to be like this forever. But
yeah, I started when I stopped drinking, I stopped taking all medications too, and I just wanted to like see what happened. And it took my body a little bit of time to reset, but I started getting panic attacks again and had to just relearn my own chemistry. But I have things now that help with that. I figured out what works for me. But yeah, it's not all, you know, fun all the time, but overall you'll be able to understand your body more now, because it's actually your body and not your body processing alcohol, which is cool.
So
Yeah, the panic
you
attacks
don't
are
feel
really
guilty, don't feel
new,
shameful. You
trying to get
didn't
used
goof
to,
anything up, you know? Yeah. Don't feel it. Just, and thank you for saying that out loud. I mean, we probably have like 2 people in the whole world watching, you know, like your best friends are listening right now. So like, you didn't do anything wrong. It just happened. You didn't have any chemical, like any alcohol in you. It's just probably you probably always had alcohol at a birthday, didn't you?
Yeah, it's like I never
And here you're
saw my
never roller
push
skating
theater
sober.
friends without alcohol.
Yes,
And it was more of
I
and especially during COVID, like not being able to go out and then just all of a sudden going back out, especially to somewhere like a roller rink. I think that also like really sets off people with the germs and being as careful as we possibly can and not getting other people sick. I think it puts a lot of anxiety on people who haven't experienced anxiety.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Oh wow, great. Thank you for sharing that. That's I could talk about that all night. Are you feeling a little bit better about it? Are you still feeling like maybe you failed something? Are you feeling a little bit better?
I feel a little better. It's at a point where if we have to go out to do something, I'm really reluctant. This weekend, we are at my partner's parents' house in Manassas, and just the drive, the 3-hour drive up here was just hard. The last time we tried to come up, we ended up getting to Busch Gardens and turning around and going home because I just couldn't pull it together. I start hysterically crying, and I get so nauseous, and I can't breathe, and my heart is racing, and I just can't imagine having to do that at somebody's house that's not my own, which sets the panic into even higher drive, because who wants to have a panic attack around your boyfriend's wonderful parents? So, I mean, just getting used to the anxiety and also trying to figure out like the best times for me to do things. I know in the morning I am way more calm than I am at night. I'm way more high strung at night. And that's mostly the time that I would drink the most, is at night. So I think it's just getting used to where we are now.
Yeah, definitely.
Abby, we
commend anybody that got sober during the pandemic. Like it's just it blows my mind the amount of strength it takes to do that on top of everything else that's going on.
It was not easy.
Thank you. I will take it because it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I basically just decided I wasn't going to buy wine at the grocery store anymore. And I don't really go out to eat anyway, so it's not like I'm drinking at bars or anything. Now I just don't go to the wine aisle.
So 2 things. Number 1, we just had one of our friends write in, Derek Munn, that says, Abby, we love you. You're awesome. Take care of yourself. We got your back. That's from our friend Derek Munn. Number 2, I think we can all tell you this. When you stop drinking, it gets real. This is some of the things I say. It gets real. Then it gets like real tough and real scary. But then it gets real better. But it just gets fucking real, and it's tough and it's scary, and most people can't make it, but I think Abby can make it. But it gets real scary.
I don't think I realized how deeply I was just floating through my days with alcohol. But now that I don't have it, I feel like I'm accountable for every minute of my day now. And now I have every minute of my day, and I don't know what to do with it, because when I was drinking, I would just paint random things or, do random activities to fill the boredom while I'm drinking. But now that I'm not doing that, I have to be cautious about what I do and accountable for every minute of my day. And I can actually put a lot more effort into my work now. I've gotten a lot more work done and a lot more focus. I started a business. I did that after I quit drinking. Just a lot of big things that start happening when you sober up. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And I think this is just the beginning. It is definitely tough in the beginning. We used to talk for our first couple shows that in the beginning for me, sometimes I'd take like 3 showers in a day because I didn't know what to do. Then I would just like make a pot of coffee at like 6 o'clock at night because I had no idea what to do.
What is it? All the coffee.
Way too much.
Yeah.
I think I've drinking like 2 cherry Cokes like during this show. Way too much.
Yeah.
And then
it's also like that, like addictive personality. Like when you drop one thing, you got to pick something else up. So when I stopped drinking, I started drinking way more coffee and a lot more caffeine because it made me feel a little jazzy. I don't know, makes you feel a little bubbly.
So interesting.
Can we change your nickname to Jazzy?
Jazzy Abby.
Please do.
A quick aside, Abby and I were in 101 together.
Oh, that is so
we
cool.
Were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we got our start at Push together. So we've both been there about 3 or 4 years now.
Yep.
So cool.
Tiffany, go back to what you said about something about like, did you hid for the first couple months?
I did because I could barely figure out how to do. So at the time I had already isolated myself entirely because I was drinking way too much to be a recognizable human, and I knew it subconsciously. So I just didn't talk to anybody, and I went to like 2 bars and then home, and that's it. And then I got sober, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't feel like I could go around anything that I had already seen. So I would like walk home different ways, and I had to replace it. I started school almost immediately, like started studying a lot for these tests to get into this expedited program, and I just literally replaced alcohol with that. Like you have to figure out something that you can use your time with or not. See, the thing is, this is what I'm saying. The pandemic is such a strange time because on top of everything else, you're just going through the exhaustion of everything that's going on. So there's like a lack of motivation already on top of everything. And then you're sober and you don't know how to fill in that time that you used alcohol for. Like, it's just, I mean, what a,
you start going through things like go ahead.
Oh, just even like healing your mental health. Like if you don't necessarily like yourself or like being alone with yourself, then being sober alone during COVID in your apartment by yourself
sucks.
It can be damaging. There was a long period when I did not like myself.
Yeah.
Internet stuff. So, Alfred, you do Zoom AA meetings. When I got sober, I had a separate Instagram account and I only followed sober people. The unexpected joy of being sober was probably the first person that like I truly fell in love with on Instagram. And I joined an email group of British people, and we emailed each other back and forth and talked about our sobriety, and we were all like 1 to 2 months sober. So I filled a lot of my time with what I was already doing, which was scrolling social media or doing whatever, but I just switched the focus to the things that I'm trying to learn more about, which was my own sobriety.
Yeah, just piggyback on that. I literally did the exact same thing. And then I used 2 modalities called Tempest by Holly Whitaker, and she wrote a book called Quit Like a Woman. And then I used Laura McCallan, We Are the Luckiest. And she actually has it's like a monthly subscription, but you get like support meetings. And I do that as well. So it's not AA by any means, but they do like meditation and a reading and like a speaker and all of that. And so, yeah, I mean, I've plugged into the sober community online And then I don't know if anyone's on Clubhouse, but I've also like jumped in on Clubhouse and they have support meetings and it's crazy.
I don't know if you
What
guys
is
have
Clubhouse?
like.
Oh, I can give you an invite if you want it. It's so cool.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, for sure. I need your phone number. I'll get it afterwards. But yeah, so it's basically, honestly, it's just like Zoom, but you can't see everyone. So there's rooms and on any topic you can think of. Simply put. So
You just listen or talk.
yeah. And you raise your hand. So there's moderators, and then you raise your hand if you want to chat. And the bigger the room, obviously, the longer a wait there is to get in or to like share. But I mean, I go to sober meetings all the time, and like they can't hear you. So you just put it on the background. I clean. I've gone running. I like shop. I mean, it's cool. And
That's
you can
interesting.
leave. Like nobody knows you're there. Like it's anyway. Yeah. But the sober community there is huge. I've made so many sober friends there just because it's super easy. You know what I mean? So it's, yeah.
That is cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I've heard people talk about it for business or creative
Yeah.
stuff, but I did not think about it for sobriety.
Yeah.
Abby, I'm glad you're talking about some of these things. Like, so it's hard in the beginning. And so really, I don't know when you tuned into our episode, but we were really talking about tonight. What happens when you stop drinking is we then realize that all of us here take medication for other things, bipolar, anxiety, depression. I mean, most of us take like 3 types of medication, you know?
I'm on 3.
Yep, I take 4.
Yeah. So, we realized that the alcohol we thought was helping, and like it works a little bit because that's all we knew. But I can relate to your story, and I'll think about going up to Busch Gardens, turning around and coming home, because have had a lot of things like that in my life. So I can relate to that. And even being a male, some of those things happening to me, where I would cry openly, maybe in my teens or even, later on, and maybe like run away and hide, people are like, that's not the John we know, but I would have some breakdowns like that. So I can relate to that.
I don't know what kind of addictions you guys have spoken about when it comes to sobriety, personally. And actually, not a lot of people know this about me, but I struggled for a very long time as a sex addict. And I went to like a Sexaholics Anonymous in Ghent for a while. And, it was a very, people say it like, oh, I'm just a sexual person. But I was taking it too far to the point where it was my existence. It was the only thing that made me feel anything. And so this past year, sorry, I'm going to get emotional because I haven't shared this in public or with anybody really. So just this past year, like I had sex with one person, and it was the same person I had sex with this morning. And it's a huge deal for me and a huge win. So like when I stopped drinking, it was an immediate feeling of, what am I going to replace this with? What do I know? Well, I know sex, but can't really do that. So then having to replace the little addictions. I quit smoking cigarettes, so I can't smoke a cigarette now. So trying to find the healthy replacements has probably been the hardest part. I did get Animal Crossing on a Switch though, and that's been taking up a good amount of my time.
And I mean, like you already are doing the healthier things.
Yeah.
Just remember that too. Like you're not gonna figure out what works for you all at once. You're gonna learn little bits here and what works and what doesn't, and it's gonna be trial and error. But at the end of the day, you are consciously making an effort to treat yourself better, and it just I hope you remember that.
Yeah, and I wanted to chime in. Like, thank you for sharing and being so vulnerable. I think that in the addiction space, we have space for all of us. And in the recovery space, we all recover from different things. And your story is so valid. So thank you.
Most of us have issues with finances and sex.
Yeah.
People that drink and people that have addiction, finances and sex. And it's usually what's the word I'm looking for? It's usually one of the extremes. It's usually like, a lot of sex or no sex or back and forth or extremes, is my experience with personally and with friends, so you're not alone in that. And I like what Tiffany said too, that you're already making so many healthy choices. And like, what are you doing right now? You're like talking to like 4 of your friends that are dorks about like sobriety on a Saturday. You know what I mean? So like you just created your own community,
Yeah.
I was really nervous to. I've seen your sober Saturdays. I've been wanting to kind of get into it, but it's like people are going to see Abby as an addict, and I don't want that. And so I was very nervous to pop in. Seeing Christina was actually very, very helpful. We actually just had brunch last Sunday.
Yeah.
That's a crazy coincidence.
We did. Yeah. And that's literally a week ago today.
And she is a delight. Let me tell you, like, we have so much in common, but seeing somebody that I look up to so much and that I consider a good friend, like on this podcast, was the biggest thing that made me want to call you guys.
Well,
feeling like, okay, this is a group of people I can get into.
Abby, that means so much. And I'm going to say 2 things. One, you are welcome in editing capacity. So if you felt like you wanted to sit in and be a guest sometime, you could. And of course, just as a friend, I know all of us are going to be talking to you. We can talk about anything, but if you ever wanted to sit in, you could. I am going to say that our next show is April 3rd. I think, is April 3rd at 8 p.m. That'll be our 6th show. And, for reasons like our friend Abby calling in, we're just going to keep doing this. All right, I want to tell you guys something. One time I got super nervous and I messaged with Erin Lindstrom and I almost canceled the show like early, like first or second one I ever did. I don't know why I reached out to her, but she's like a powerful woman friend. But one time I got nervous that nobody was going to watch it. I almost canceled. And she told me I couldn't.
You know what's interesting on that topic is like, I felt the same way. I was like, I had no followers on Instagram. Like, why am I sharing? This is pointless. But then it's like, I was like, what if I help one person like try to get, so you know what I mean? And I know that sounds cheesy, but I like believe that in my soul. I'm like, if I have one person say, well, now I'm maybe going to get medicine, or maybe I'm going to try and get sober because you can do it, then I'm like, my work's done here, So
no, I'm glad that
we make that connection. That's where, that's amazing.
Yeah.
When I didn't go through all this for nothing.
Exactly. Perfectly put, Alfred. Yeah.
Abby, can we let you go?
To add to that, like I have a list of reasons why I wanted to get sober, but Christina promoting her sobriety on Instagram was definitely a big catch for me, a big, like, I want to do this because she can do it and we're great friends. So like, I can totally do this too.
Yeah, totally. Abby, is it okay if we let you go and then connect again?
Yes, that sounds great, you guys. I got to put my kid to bed, so I'm out. But it was wonderful talking to all of you fabulous people.
I love you.
Likewise.
You're super funny, and we're going to be doing awesome things this summer.
All right, guys. I love you all. Have a good night.
Bye. Okay, this is an A+++ show. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Alfred, my friend, talk me down. Like, what is happening?
I'm getting anxious. We're not going to end on time.
Oh my gosh. Oh, are you, Alfred? Are you?
No, I'm just kidding.
Are you, Alfred? Are we creating community and people are calling in?
We are.
This is what we wanted to do. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. So I'm so glad that Christina responded to my message today. No, my post. It's so random. Yeah. Well, is there anything while I have you just for like 60 seconds, Christina, that you want to plug? Do you want to talk about your Facebook group again and your IG?
Yeah. So just if you are creative or you don't have to identify that way, if you share about your sobriety or mental health online, please just join my group. I would love to have you there. We pump each other up and you can honestly just share whatever you have going on. It was just like a place to bring everyone together. And then, so I'm on Instagram at @CKimbrough, just KIMPROUGH1. And that's I primarily use Instagram. I share my life in squares. So I just share how I got sober and mental health. So
Well, thank you for being here. Is there anything you wanted to add, Tiffany?
No, I'm good.
Captain Alfred.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes. Well, I think we can wrap this up and say this has been a great show. April 3rd is our next show. Sober Saturdays will be our 6th one. Tiff, go ahead.
I do have something. I have several podcasts that I'm working on right now. I forgot.
Ooh, performance enhancing films is one.
Yeah, and our second one, we're getting kicked off with a 3rd episode is Warp Core Ejects. There's 3 of us talking about how Star Trek affected our lives and our joys and sorrows that deal with Star Trek. And we're going to record a 3rd episode tomorrow. And then Ted Cornisa and I are going to start a podcast called, it's going to be hopefully a live Saturday morning show called Dragon and Crane, talking about pop culture. Bring your pajamas and your bowl of cereal.
So
okay.
cool.
I saw you post about that. And Christine, I know you and I are Facebook friends. Are you comfortable with Alfred or Tiffany or Matt?
Oh my gosh, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I figured. And then I think Tiffany and I would like to have you for like a 8 to 10 minute, 12 minute, like hyper focused interview.
Yeah.
And take place in your Facebook group as well.
Yeah.
Earprov.com is Matt's baby, our producer, Matt Cole, and he produces all sorts of fun podcasts with our creative friends on there. Friday and Saturday night, since the Push Comedy Theater has been closed, they've been live streaming all sorts of fun things. They even have something called Drunk Prov. And then Matt, our best friend, turns around like 24 or 40 hours later and supports us with his time for free with sober Saturdays, which I always thought is cool.
He's going to start support group Prov here pretty soon.
Yeah. I know we're getting short on time, but I wanted to tell you guys one other thing. I might have tried to message it to you, but I wanted to tell you. So I created a Patreon page. Am I saying that right?
Patreon.
Okay, Patreon page, and I sent it out there, and so Alfred became a monthly giver. Another woman named Lisa McKee, who is sober in our Facebook group, but she moved to Charlottesville area, became a giver. An employee of mine who retired and moved to Arkansas became a monthly giver at $9 a month. Towards this podcast, which helps us, because we're on Podbean. And then Sean and Kate Thomas, that were friends of ours, became a monthly giver, and they were artists that moved to. So I had like 4 people. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
And I may send that to you guys just to share. You don't feel like you have to give, but just to share. So I wanted to say thank you to them.
Thanks.
This has been a great show, and I'm talking too much. And let's wrap it up.
Coke Zero's doing the talking, John.
Yeah. This has been Sober Saturdays, and our next show is April 3rd.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for
everyone.
having me.
Yep.
Grateful.
Thank you, Christina. You were great. You were great. Thank
Nice
you so
to
much.
meet you so much.
Yep.
It's wonderful to have you.
Thanks so much for watching Sober Saturdays. You can see us next first Saturday of the month at 8 p.m. on earprov.com. Streaming simultaneously to Facebook Live, Twitch, and YouTube. If you like this show tonight and you want to share it with your friends, they can listen to the podcast, sobersaturdays.podbean.com. And don't forget to donate monthly to us at patreon.com/sobersaturdays. Next Saturday, you can see The Jam, an improv comedy live stream celebrating diversity and inclusion at 8 p.m. on earprov.com. Let's jam. Have a good night.
Ba, 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 ba.